I've always wanted a kinky lid like this. It's time for Must Have Seen TV, the podcast dedicated to the TV shows of the 20th century. From I Love Lucy to News Radio, I'm your TV guide, Brett White, sometimes known as the drag queen Barb Hardley. And say hello to the Isaac to my gopher, Ethan K. Hello, Ethan. I kept that very straightforward.
Oh, they're still the best characters.
Yeah,
Hello, Brett.
they're like a Laurel and Hardy of the
I
sea.
I have so much to say about this, about the Love Boat. I have never seen the Love Boat before. This is the first episode of Love Boat that I've ever seen, and I absolutely adored it.
Yeah, you're gonna now be watching a lot of it. Yeah, so we're doing the Love Boat. I am wearing one of my dad's Hawaiian shirts from the 70s
I'm wearing
that I
a Better to Think
inherited.
t-shirt because I didn't think about going tropical.
Yeah, and this is also, so when we were planning out this round of episodes, I totally forgot that June is Pride Month, which is my shame as a homosexual. I should have remembered that. But we'd already picked an episode with the Village People in it, so surprise, this is also a Pride Month episode.
Well, I remember
Uh,
last year we did a whole series, an entire
yeah, we did
season. We
of
did I
Secret
Love Lucy.
Gays. We
Yeah, we did
the
I Love
Alfred
Lucy.
Hitchcock. I Love Lucy, Alfred Hitchcock. What was
Um,
the 70s one?
oh
Was
no.
that Streets of San Francisco? Because there
Oh
was the because
John
John
Saxon
Saxon played
played
a
the
bisexual
bisexual
coin thief.
coin thief slash insulin murderer. Uh,
And
and if
then
you're watching on
80s,
YouTube, I am flashing up my picture of
yeah.
John Saxon, my autograph photo of John Saxon.
In the 80s, we did Oh Madeline with Charles Ludlam, a
Yep.
drag for female impersonator from then. And then 90s, we
Did,
did,
did we do
was that
Wings?
Wings?
Was
Was
that the
that when we
Wings
did the
one?
Wings? I
I
feel like,
think
yeah, maybe. I don't, yeah, you know what? It's all a blur, but we have done a Wings episode with Abraham Ben Ruby as a homosexual high schooler because he was so young in that episode.
and he was
Uh,
also 9 feet tall. He's so
yes,
big.
God.
He's a huge
Been the
man.
same height forever. But yeah, everybody. So let's please leave comments, subscribe on YouTube, watch on YouTube, because this is a fun little thing that we can do. I think if you watched last week's episode, I talked about how I just opened a bunch of home improvement trading cards. Right?
Yes, you did.
I was I getting ready to do it. I think I just done it. But now I have all these cards. And if you're on YouTube, you can see all these fucking cards. These are all the doubles, Ethan.
For
This is
home
after
improvement.
this is after I've taken out a set. I still have all these left over. This thick stack of here's the man kitchen. You like that?
I'm
I
looking
I
at
now
this.
I now have a Tim Taylor card. Um, here is, let me see. Oh, come on. Here's Tim Taylor on a snow tractor. Randy
Okay.
Taylor. Come on. These are great cards, right?
These are great cards.
I mean, this is a great card.
I would easily
Good
trade these
card.
for equal or lesser value cards.
So I don't know. We should start some sort of sweepstakes. If anyone's comfortable giving me their address, I will mail you a stack of, because it also comes with Wilson wisdom. Um, Modern man lacks spiritual intimacy with his food, therefore he lacks respect for it. That's
That's
a
that's
card.
very that's a level of deepness that I am not prepared to experience having watched The Love Boat with again the
And
Village People.
there's also a whole bunch of static cling cards that say big tool, just fix it, more power, level-headed, caveman in training. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. We should figure out something to do with these. And if you want to subscribe to Barb Hardley on YouTube, eventually there is going to be a probably half-hour video of me in drag opening up every pack, all 24 packs, the way I choose
Not
to
for
spend my
pride,
time.
just for the hell of it, just
Yeah,
because.
yeah, just because this is what I choose. This is my art. But anyway,
This is your muse.
do we just want to jump into it since this is a surprise 90-minute episode? We
Yeah,
did not realize that.
this really surprised me. We picked. How did we pick this? So if you didn't watch the upfront episode or listen to the upfront episode where we planned out the rest of the season, so we're doing Love Boat this week, and then we're going to be doing ER.
Oh, yes, and I also want to say that the ER episode is a retroactive Pride episode because of one shot, and we'll talk about that shot when we get
Okay.
to it. It is
Um,
gay canon.
so the reason we picked this is we spent the upfront episode figuring out what drama to do. And I leaned in and I said, let's do Love Boat as a drama, because it kind of is.
Usually an hour long. It has a laugh track in it, weirdly.
That comes in at just the wrong places.
But
Things that
every episode has like four storylines. So you're usually getting like a hardcore dramatic one, a storyline about the ship's crew, and then like a comedy storyline, and then like so you're kind of just getting everything.
yeah. And this was the last, sorry, this, how do I put this? This was the last hour-long sitcom to have a laugh track. So they were,
Hmm.
by the 80s, they were already kind of going out of favor, especially for hour-long programs. Love Boat kept going way past the time it should have been, just excised. So this was the last hour-long program to have a laugh track. That's what I was trying to say. But we looked around and we said, let's do the Love Boat. And then you said, there's everybody guest starred in this. Pick somebody who just a celebrity. And of course I said John Saxon. John Saxon was not in it.
Which is crazy, honestly.
And then I came up with the land version of Love Boat, which was Fantasy Island, also
Hmm.
produced by Aaron Spelling, and my mind went to Ricardo Montalban, rich
Yes.
Caribbean leather. Um, and there happens to be this episode where it's not an overlap, but
It's
Aaron Spelling's Fantasy Island star, Ricardo Montalban, did a voice of a horse race announcer on this particular episode. It just so happens that it's an hour and a
this
half
is
long. It just so happens that it guest stars the Village People and Robert Stack,
and Betty White and David
Alan
Doyle, one of my number one crushes.
and Allen Ludden, who is the host of Password from 1961 to 1980.
This is an infamous episode. I think that I at one point tweeted like there's one episode of the Love Boat that has Betty White, Robert Stack, Village People all in one episode.
Yeah.
And it's like that's what this show was. So and then it just turns out that's the one we're doing. And yeah,
And
we'll
Loni
get there's
Anderson.
Loni Anderson is like the lead. This episode, so let's just jump right into it because this is we're jumping to a nexus in time, honestly. Like this is going to blow people's minds when I tell everything that was going on at this time.
There's so much about Love Boat that like I learned. I have 5 pages of notes. Usually I get 3 per show.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I did a lot of research on the Village People, so buckle up. That's the Pride portion, is me just telling y'all all about the Village People. But this week we'll be traveling to November 22nd, 1980. Private Benjamin ruled the box office. Lady by Kenny Rogers topped the charts, and ABC aired the Love Boat episode. The horse lover secretary to the stars, Julie's decision. Gopher and Isaac buy a horse. Village People ride again. Ethan, you must have seen The Horse Lover, Secretary to the Stars, Julie's Decision, Gopher and Isaac buy a horse, Village People ride again before today.
I mean, I didn't watch it today. I watched it last night.
Okay,
So
yeah.
yes, before today I did.
This is your first episode of Love Boat. Now, when Love Boat came to Paramount Plus, when Paramount Plus launched a couple years ago, I just started watching Love Boat, and during the pandemic, it became like the kind of show that I would just, and it still is, because there's a Pluto TV channel that just runs it 24 hours a day. It's the kind of show you can just put on, and no matter where it is in the episode, you just start watching because there's no, it's not hard to pick up.
No, it's not.
What's going on.
It's very it's in one sense it's weird because all of these weird things are happening, and on the other hand it's really grounded because it all takes place on a boat, sometimes going off the boat, but it all takes place in pretty much one location.
Yeah.
um what I compared it to, and I was like kicking myself like all night last night, and then like because I was thinking about it as I was falling asleep, and I'm like, what is this? What is this linked to? And I'm like, this is the old comedies of the 1930s and 40s.
Yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah, yeah.
where it has like a very big dramatic plot, but you'll also have like Bob Hope or the Ritz brothers like dicking around, like Don
Yeah.
Ameche, like goofing around, Joey Brown, like doing shtick around these dramatic plots. I'm thinking like it's Bob Hope in College Swing, it's Bob Hope in Big Broadcast 1938, it's Bob Hope in Paleface, like all of those things. And it's never serious. It's never like you don't think someone's going to die. No one is going to like, take a hostage and like jump into the water. It's like it's light comedy, it's light drama, and it's the perfect throwback if you want to feel like you're watching those old films. Because I do, and that's why I think that it appealed to me so much. Why I'm like, I might want to watch this by myself, like
It
later, that kind of
it
stuff.
it feels like if you were to put one TV show in like a Superman like space shuttle while Earth is exploding to show aliens what television is, like you would just send an episode of Love Boat because it's just all TV at once. Like this episode has musical numbers in it, like
The
it.
same as old movies would have musical numbers.
Yeah.
Same
Like,
thing.
what I love about it is I tweeted at some point. I mean, hey guys, Twitter. I used to be really good on Twitter. Like when I think about, imagine being alive in 1980 and like it's Saturday night and you're at home, you're with your family, and you're turning on ABC to put on, and Love Boat's coming on, and you're just seeing that rotating, carousel of stars. And it's like, oh wow, tonight I get to hang out with Betty White, Allen Ludden, the Village People, Robert Stack, and then of course Gavin McLeod and Fred Grandy. Like it has this like comforting feel
It
to
does.
it.
It definitely does.
Like, oh, this is gonna be a fun night. Like it, like I
Surrounded
don't
the boat. The boat's
know.
supposed to be fun. It's not
Well,
like Love Dungeon where you're like trapped in an oubliette and like starving to death. It's like,
Jesus
no, it's a
Christ.
boat. We're having fun.
Or it's not like Love Titanic or Love 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or nothing.
Yeah, love
Uh,
Towering Inferno. I do want to point out that this is season 4, episode 7, which is the only season that is not available on Pluto TV for some reason.
oh, geez. Well, Paramount Plus, baby.
It's on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
This aired on November 22nd, 1980, which is unfortunate. The unfortunate news is that Mae West died that day.
She would have been great on Love. I mean, honestly, she might have been on Love Boat.
I
I
don't know.
don't know.
Leaping
I
around Love Boat, the grassy dame.
mean, everyone
Great.
was. So yeah, this week on Must Have Seen TV, we're talking about the Love Boat episode, the horse lover secretary to the stars, Julie's decision, Gopher and Isaac buy a horse, village people ride again. It is the 7th episode of season 4, and it was written by Haskell Barkin, Sandra K. Siegel, Casey Keller, Christopher Vane, Jill Bayer, Art Bayer, Richard Albrecht, and Ben Jolson, and directed by Richard Downey. Here's how Paramount Plus describes the episode. This 90-minute episode features a steeplechase horse race in Acapulco, and a famous movie star gets more than she bargained for when she disguises herself as her own secretary. Also, Julie decides to marry a wealthy bachelor, played by Robert Stack, while a wife, played by Betty White, gets mad about her husband's horse racing antics. Ethan, how accurate is that description?
I mean, that would pull me in.
Jesus, that's a lot.
There's
That's
a
a
lot.
lot of information in there.
Love Boat, I mean, Love Boat, they pack it in. There's tons of information.
So I
Uh,
do want to talk about how this episode aired because it is
okay.
crazy. Did you find out any of this information?
I mean, I looked up some stuff about Love Boat, like it was based on a book by Geraldine Saunders about her experience on a German cruise line.
Ooh.
And the theme song was by Paul Williams. You might remember from Everything.
The greatest
Like,
songwriter of the 20th century. And
I
I'm
know,
like
Phantom of the
kind of
Paradise,
not, I'm not joking. I mean,
Muppet movie.
if you knock out fucking Rainbow Connection and When the River Meets the Sea, and those are the only two songs you ever write, you're the best songwriter of all time.
And he partnered with this with Charles Fox, who wrote the theme songs for Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley. Also wrote Killing Me Softly with his song,
Which was the
and
number one song last week in our episode.
I Got a Name by Jim Croce, which is one of my favorite songs.
No, so
Um,
I love this theme song. It's very catchy. I want Carly Rae Jepsen to cover it. And also, I love the line that this theme song has in it. Love won't hurt anymore. Like, that's such an interesting line to have in a theme song that is otherwise very positive. But then it also sneaks in love won't hurt anymore. It's a friendly smile on an open shore.
well, that's because there's so many people who come into the cruise with
Yeah.
like a damaged, hurt love that they're like, oh, and it happens with Allen Ludden and Betty White, a
Yes.
real life couple
Yep.
who were married until he passed away, and she never had another relationship again.
And he had stomach cancer while filming this. The trivia page on IMDb. There's only one bit of trivia on the trivia page for this episode, and it's that he had stomach cancer.
Well,
So
we can
there's a
talk
lot
some
more
more
going
about it.
on in this.
Yeah, there's a lot happening.
So this episode, why this episode is 90 minutes? So this episode aired the night after we found out who shot JR. So the episode, so Who Shot JR, one of the biggest cliffhangers in all television history, where on Dallas, someone shoots Larry Hagman. And then it comes back, and in perfect fashion, they do not reveal for a couple of weeks who shot JR. And then it is this episode on the 21st, the night before, the Friday night before this episode airs, that they reveal who shot JR. 41.5 million homes watch that episode of TV. And so this night, and I have to imagine that they decided to do this in response to knowing that was coming. So this night of television at 8 p.m., Fantasy Island comes on for 30 minutes. And then at 8:30, Love Boat comes on for 90 minutes. And then at 10, Fantasy Island finishes out with its last 60 minutes. And that is because they air, so like Love Boat, Fantasy Island was also split into multiple storylines. They took all of one of those storylines and put it in that first 30-minute chunk. Then you watch all 90 of Love Boat, and Loni Anderson then goes into Fantasy Island, and they show the other two storylines from that
No
for
way.
the next hour. So this was two 90-minute episodes of television that they then kind of like re-edited into one 3-hour movie event.
3-hour movie.
Now,
It is
I
like
don't know.
the Return of the King of
Yeah.
Saturday night television.
Now, I'm trying to find out. I don't know what that I should have actually looked up what that Fantasy Island episode is about. She's playing the same character, but is the sex pest with her?
Oh, we haven't even discussed.
Yeah, so
the
I don't even
characters.
know
we
if
haven't even discussed the sex pest.
Yeah, so it might, yeah, it's wild. He's not in that episode. So that, but still, like it aired like, I'm assuming it was like, we don't want Dallas to get all the attention, so
So we're gonna play
also going to do
hours of Aaron Spelling in one evening.
Just,
Aaron Spelling, if you don't know, because he's been passed away for, I want to say, 10 years or so.
oh yeah,
He was the producer of the 70s and 80s and 90s.
into the 90s, yeah, because
Yeah.
all the
He did
Fox.
90210, he did Melrose Place, he did The Heights, he did Charmed, like
Yeah,
all of those. In the 70s and 80s, he did Charlie's Angels, he did Mod Squad, he did Love Boat,
he did Heart
Fantasy
to Heart.
Island, Heart to Heart. He was unstoppable. There was nothing that he could not do, believe me.
Including turn his own daughter into a superstar.
Starsky and Hutch,
Tori Spelling.
Mother's Brothers, formerly married to Carolyn Jones, Morticia Adams.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, his first wife.
Huh.
Tori Spelling is from his later marriage, and he was just kind of a struggling guy, a struggling producer, and then he partnered with Danny Thomas from Make Room for Daddy in the Danny Thomas Show. They produced a couple of things. Then Mod Squad hits. Mod Squad is huge. I want to say 1969 or so.
Yeah.
Aaron Spelling breaks away from Danny Thomas, and it's just like clear run to the end zone.
It's
It is
over
hit
for
after hit
everyone
after hit.
else.
Yep. So
So
wild background stuff for everybody here. I'm electric right now. This
I
is
know.
just
So let's first talk about, because I'm going to try to break this up when we get to the episode into subplot by subplot by subplot. But I want to talk about the opening credits and let's talk about these guest stars because, as I mentioned, every episode of A Love Boat is like guest starring in alphabetical order, and then it is just always a. It's almost like a fun party game to do, like Love Boat, the guest starring like Chris Claremont, the Cardigans.
Charles Manson.
Yeah, like it's
Uh
actually that is a fun
John
game if you have to do it in alphabetical
Preston.
order. Like that's like
Lady Reed.
Paul Rudd
We
and
used to
Teddy Roosevelt,
I
the
used to
ghost of Charles Schulz.
we used to do that with Saturday Night Live, play
Yeah,
the Don
it's
Pardo game.
musical guest, the Wallflowers, and your host, Isaac Newton.
Exactly. With
Yeah.
musical guest Harvey Danger and your host Kevin James.
Yeah, like it's so like this episode opens up and they're really lucky the alphabet is shining a spotlight on them because Loni Anderson got that A last name and Loni Anderson is the reason that this night is happening. Loni Anderson, also what's crazy is Loni Anderson is like the lead on WKRP in Cincinnati, which usually airs on this night, except it isn't tonight because they're doing supersized Love Boat and Fantasy Island.
Lonnie Anderson she had her heyday in the early 80s, and I mean I appreciate her. She did Stroker Ace with Burt Reynolds,
And they
which is
were famously like a longtime couple,
a
right?
longtime couple, but the movie flopped so bad that she just kind of like just did flops from there. But she's great in it. I love Stroker Ace. And yes, she did get nominated for a Razzie for Worst New Star in 1983. It was Stroker Ace was nominated for Worst Picture in 1983, and it did win Worst Supporting Actor for Jim Neighbors.
And that's not the only Razzie connection because when the
Exactly.
Razzies came around, The Village People, Can't Stop the Music was the very first ever worst film by the Razzies.
1981.
Right after
Uh,
this, which honestly, like this episode is coming the winter. Yeah, there's a lot of connections.
well, the Can't Stop the Music was June 1980, and
Yeah,
this was
this is
November
November
1980.
80, but it's hitting HBO at this time, so I have some concurrent reviews from so that we'll get to later. So yeah, Loni Anderson, superstar. If you want a visual, I was gonna say Loni Anderson is like if Farrah Fawcett just had even more hair. Just like just as if like the bangs are her hair is almost indescribable, Loni Anderson's. Like it is it's like she's wearing a
Yeah.
hard front wig at all times. I
It's like
think it's her hair.
it's like her hairline starts right above her eyebrows in every
Yeah.
hairstyle that she has.
Because her bangs are just wide, like they're the most feathery bangs you've ever seen in your life. Um,
So
then
we
next
follow
up,
up with David Doyle.
so David Doyle. I have a huge crush on David Doyle. I love David Doyle. I think he is adorable. He talks like a weird, like cartoon dog. He was Bosley on Charlie's Angels, so he was the Bill Murray, Bernie Mac role for those of us who grew up with the movies.
Which I believe was another Aaron Spelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mostly love David Doyle from Match Game, where he did a lot of Match Game in the late 70s. And he's just
Oh.
like an adorable, schlubby little dude. And I love him so much. I think he's so handsome and charming. And this is neither here nor there, but he is my fan casting for Foggy Nelson of the 1970s.
Oh, that's a pretty good one.
Robert Wagner would, of course, be Matt Murdock, and David Doyle would be Foggy Nelson. And then this is my dream come true. But
He was
anyway.
also speaking of cartoons, he was Grandpa Pickles in Rugrats.
Oh, yeah.
He was Grandpa.
Do you want to talk about this fucking sex pest?
His name's
Jesus Christ.
So his name is Charles Frank. He was a soap opera actor on All My Children.
Okay.
He was married to actress Susan Blanchard, who was also on All My Children. And then he went on to do a lot of TV movies, which he starred in alongside his wife, Susan Blanchard.
Okay, so they were probably like, it's like, ooh, the All My Children. Was it All My Children? What
It was
was
All
it?
My Children.
The All My Children couples in the TV movie. Richard, come in here. It's my
Yeah,
people. They're on in prime time.
he did a couple of the Maverick spin-offs too.
Okay.
So we call him in this, his entire purpose in this is he goes on the boat so he can meet Loni Anderson's character, who is a
Which,
big celebrity, the biggest celebrity.
yeah.
He goes on the boat to meet her. Not like, oh, we knew each other from way back when. It's not like, oh, I want to interview her for a book. It's just like, I want to meet her.
Like
And
this
then,
motherfucker intercepted a manifest somehow. Like this, there's no hacking at this. How did he find it's wild?
so, and he does not, weirdly enough, she's very charmed by him and he does not leave her alone. He camps out in front of her room.
It's
He is
gross.
stalking her like a
Run,
motherfucker.
girl, run! Jump off the boat.
and like he's extremely serious all the time. Like he's
And
extremely
cruel,
he's
cruel.
creepy. And and so he's like making demands of her and like really being pushy. So like halfway through running the notes, he just became sex pest
Yeah, that's
in
yeah.
all the notes. He's no longer Charles Frank. And I don't know
Uh,
if that's Charles Frank as an actor or just the role was like, or just
I'm sure
people
he
were
was
not
lovely.
thinking about like the implications of writing a
Absolutely
character
not.
like
On an
this.
Aaron Spelling show in 1980. And then we got Allen Ludden pops
Yeah.
up, and Allen Ludden is there with Betty White. They got started on this show a lot because you can play multiple characters. We don't care. That's not
Yeah.
the concern.
They were married. She was a guest on Password, and she was a guest on a lot of game shows and stuff during
I'm trying
the
to think,
60s and 70s.
who are they? Who are they like? Like nowadays, like God, I was like they're like Nick and Vanessa Lachey. No, they're not. But like they as a married couple just were on television together like all the time. Like he was on every single day hosting Password. She's doing the Betty White show. Oh God, what was that show called in
I
the
mean,
50s?
she did a lot
And
of
Mary
things.
Tyler Moore, a lot of game shows,
She
just like on TV all
won
the time.
she won 2 Emmys for Mary Tyler Moore. She started in 1949 in radio with the Betty White Show, then moved to the TV with the Betty White Show.
Elizabeth,
Life with
Life with
Elizabeth,
Elizabeth, which we did on this podcast very, very, very early on.
Date with the Angels. Then she had Betty White Show from 1977 to 1978. So that's why she was kind of like in the public consciousness. Between 1978 and 1980, she did 4 TV movies. So she's like constantly on
And she's
TV.
about to go on to Mama's Family, and then in the hiatus after Mama's Family's briefly canceled is when she does Golden Girls, and she doesn't go
85.
back to Mama's Family. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like them being on in this episode together is a huge. I mean, it's like it's both a huge deal because they're great, and it's also just kind of like business as usual because they're always on TV. They're
Yeah.
people love them.
And they loved each other. They were absolutely head over heels for each other. Um,
Yeah.
they have good chemistry on this show. They're not well written.
No, God, no. The writing on this
They're not
show
well
is
written.
just preposterous and like first draft only, baby. It's great. Then we'll talk about Robert Stack, who is on this, which everyone our age knows as the host of Unsolved Mysteries.
If you have any
So
information as to these crimes,
it is wild watching him play a like Playboy millionaire who's like trying to seduce a woman because it just sounds like he's about to murder her.
there's so much going on with Robert Stack. First off, when they show him in the porthole in the opening credits, his teeth are bright yellow. And I don't know if that was Robert Stack teeth
Color
or
correction didn't exist.
or weird color correction. But I don't know what it was, but so many scenes, his eyes were completely red. The whites of his eyes were totally red.
Wait, so I'm assuming he was like a dramatic film noir.
Yeah,
I actually don't know anything about him prior to Unsolved
he did
Mysteries.
a ton of those like studio pictures that they churned out back in the 40s. Just like one after another, like multiples per year. He did The Untouchables. That was his really big one.
Right, yes.
Um, and then he would just do TV appearances like that. Airplane, which he did with
Oh God, duh. Yeah, yeah. That's where he kind of pioneered like the why Alec Baldwin is good at comedy.
yeah,
Why what are other dramatic actors that then were like really good
Leslie
comedians?
Nielsen.
Leslie
Leslie
Nielsen,
Nielsen started at
yeah.
dramatic.
Yeah, it's one of those, and like Liam Neeson, I think, is taking a turn towards this now, finally. I think he's doing a
Yeah,
comedy. So,
he's
like,
supposed to be doing the remake of The Naked Gun.
oh, that's it. Yeah, like that's
That's it.
perfect as long as he can nail it.
So he got a lot of these little shows. He did Name of the Game that we kind of talked about with Kate and Allie, because Susan St.
mm,
James, her career kind of launched with Name of the Game. Um, and then
I-
9 years after this, so he's already playing this character that everyone's like, "Wow, you're very old. You're
he's
too old."
60. He is 60.
Everyone's like, "You're too old." Then he goes on. 9 years later, he does Unsolved Mysteries.
What is wild is like if you only know Robert Stack from Unsolved Mysteries, like I watched that, I don't think of him as a human being. I think of him as like what the Beyonder or Eternity is in the Marvel universe almost. Like he's like the Watcher. Oh, what the hell is why are there balloons? God damn it, Zoom. You need to turn all that off. Did you
Yeah,
see my balloons?
I saw your balloons. The
Oh
balloons came
God.
up. Yeah.
No, but like he feels because he's always wearing a trench coat and always under a street lamp. It's just like he's ethereal. He is from beyond here to tell us the
Got the
mysteries of the
great voice.
universe.
He's got the voice, and he was always asking for information. If you have any
Information. We have any
information
information.
about Deborah Panabaker and her
Yeah.
disappearance, call this number on the screen.
Yeah. And then the last guest stars are the one, the only, the dignified, the cultural icons, the village people.
You can't say you can't say the one and only because there are now two village people.
There's yeah. Do I need to go into the background of the village people now, or should I save that for when we get to their storyline?
I don't know.
Their sto-
We're
Listen, I
kind
mean,
of in a
we've
weird place where we've been talking now for about half an hour about just the people
bitch. I mean,
involved
like, hey,
in.
this is going. This is a Pride Month special. This is gonna. Hey, this is our answer to who shot JR. This is our mega app. Well, so let me talk about the information. So the village people were put together by a French music producer named Jacques Morali, who was gay. And he basically like the lore is like he went to like the East Village or Greenwich Village, I mean, in New York City, and like saw all these archetypes out at the gay bars. Like, oh, there's a cowboy, there's a leather daddy, there's a cop. I don't know. Well, the cop would go to the gay bar, but not for good reasons.
No
And so
cops
he
have died.
basically put out an ad for like looking for like singers must know how to dance and must have a mustache. Which is, gentlemen, why I have a mustache is because of the gay
Because of the
coding
village
of it.
people.
The gay coding
Uh,
of it.
I remember the first one that he recruited was Philippe Rose. Is his
Who?
last name Rose?
Yes,
Philippe
Philippe
Rose.
Philippe Rose, who is the Native American. He's Puerto Rican, I do believe.
On his mother's side, on his father's side, it, he has been unclear. He has said in the past, um, he has said Apache, he said Lakota, he's said
Okay.
Cherokee.
He
Uh,
ain't white, so at least there's that.
I think we like everyone's given him a pass because even though he is not affiliated with any tribe or registered with any tribe, he has released a whole bunch of music about Native American rights and Native
Yes.
American pride. So he has received a lot of also awards for his work in
Good.
Native American affairs. So yeah, we're a little fuzzy on the details, but at the same time, you know what? It's all good.
Go for it, Felipe.
All good.
He's also one of the gay ones. And in my research, I wanted to Google, I Googled, well, I did went on newspapers.com and searched for their names prior to 1977 when the Village People formed. And in 1976, Felipe Rose was dancing at the Brooklyn College in ballet
Oh,
performances, which, I mean, like, he's a good dancer. He is the dancer.
yeah,
Um,
he was seen at the club The Anvil, and that's
mhm.
how he came on the radar of this producer. And they're like, oh, he's the guy that we got to get.
Another one, well, the main one who is actually, well, let me go through the six that are in this episode first, and then we'll talk about
And this is
the
the main
most
six.
important.
This is the before any replacements. This is the core six that were in Can't Stop the Music. It
Yes.
released all the big hits.
Alex Briley played the soldier, and the Library of Congress says that he was straight, so I'm going to trust them. A lot of other interviews say that he was gay, but like the Library of Congress published this like history of YMCA as a single like thing, and I'm going to trust the Library of Congress. I don't know.
I couldn't find a lot of information on him. I guess it was like there was like a Harlem website that did like a whole thing on him, and they just copied his Wikipedia page.
Okay, that's not. So when I did the newspaper search on him, and he's the only one I found anything else for, so don't expect anything more about this later. In 1976, he was singing a solo. He was one of the many soloists at a church recital for a visiting like gospel singer. So which his Wikipedia does confirm that he grew up like singing in the church. So we're and is he also the one whose younger brother was speculated to be the falling man from 9/11?
Correct. That is correct.
Which is a wild connection there.
Yes. That's on his
moving on, I guess.
Moving on.
Glenn Hughes is the leather daddy. And another one of those, like, is he gay? Is he straight? I think
no. He was
gay.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, look at him.
He based his wardrobe on the dress code at the mine shaft, which is a very famous gay S&M club. Where women were not allowed. No women were allowed.
I mean, he is the mustache. He is the handily bar guy. Yeah,
he really was great. A toll collector before he joined.
Yeah.
But he was also a biker in real life.
Good. Oh, and also, so I found this interview that the Village People gave in like 1978 or so, where they're all very erudite. Like they're all very like he's talking about how I think he specifically talks about how no, when we say macho man, we're also talking about how it's also macho to like be in touch with your feelings and not being afraid to cry. Like women can be macho men too. Like it's like all of them, like the interview is pretty long and all of them have very, very smart things to say about gender roles. It's great.
The more that I learn about the Village People, the more I like and respect them. Honestly. Yeah. I did not care for Can't Stop the Music. They were fine in it. It's just a goony film. It's just like silly.
Yeah.
It's like it's a silly like people not acting like adults. They're just like goofy.
Then we have a hard hat, or as I was the construction worker, David Hodo.
David Hodo left the group in 2013, but he has released some solo material, and there's a little bit of it on Spotify. And I listened to his cover of George Harrison's "What Is Life" yesterday, which was pretty good.
Good. Well, he also is another, like, he's probably gay. He, in interviews, at least talked very openly about, like, yeah, we were a gay group. Like, period.
Yeah.
So I feel like he leans towards being homosexual.
He was showing off the clone look that was popular at the time. Mm-hmm. But they had everybody represented, which was great.
Especially
he was I was kind of like, when I saw Can't Stop the Music, I'm like, oh, he doesn't have a lot of lines. He's not in a lot of scenes. And then he has some actually like good lines in the Love Boat episode. So I'm like, thumbs up, David Hodo. New respect.
And they also represent the police because Ray Simpson, who joined in 1979 as the cop, because we'll get to it, the original cop ain't in this episode. Victor Willis, who will come back.
Yeah,
but yes,
he's the villain of the piece.
Yeah, so Ray Simpson played the cop in this episode of The Love Boat and was like kind of the interim cop. He's straight. And lastly, not credited on IMDb, Randy Jones as the cowboy who is gay.
He is credited. You just have to go to the additional cast. And I got to talk about Randy Jones because I do have to apologize for something I accidentally did to Randy Jones.
The cowboy?
the cowboy from the Village People, who is because I did this, he is my favorite, and I am endlessly apologetic.
He did
So
good in this episode.
he did great. He's great in everything. I absolutely love him. Um, so it was 2007, I think, maybe 2008. I think it might have been 2008. And I had just moved to New York. No, it was 2000. I think it was 2007. I had just moved to New York, and I had been to two New York Comic Cons.
Mm.
And I spent all of those Comic Cons buying back issues. I did not care for Artist Alley. I didn't care for the celebrities. I didn't care for the panels. I was there to back issue dive. Uh, but I knew that like there were celebrities and stuff, like there's all that stuff. And then I went to the Big Apple Comic Con, which is a much smaller Comic Con. It used to be held across from Penn Station, and
This was
that
2007.
2007 or
Did we
2000.
go? Did I go with you to this?
You might have. You very well might have. And I was walking around getting my bearings, and I walked into the celebrity area. And there was like a bunch of people that I was like, oh my gosh, I've seen that person before. I know that person. And there's Jason Mewes from Jay and Silent Bob, and there's Randy Jones from the Village People in his hat, selling autographs and pictures. And from across the room, I took a picture of him, and he noticed me and he waved. And I realized that he sells those pictures for like $45 a piece. And here I am, this dumbass kid taking his picture for free, like I am some fucking documentary filmmaker at a safari of celebrities. And I felt so bad. And I didn't go up to him afterwards and apologize or buy anything. It is weighed on me. I went to his website. I'm like, I'll just buy an autographed picture of Randy. And the page hasn't been updated since 2017, so I don't know where my money would be going. But I to this day I feel bad that I took a picture of a celebrity that was selling pictures. I
Randy Jones, hopefully he will hear this.
Randy Jones has been with his partner for 40 years.
I would love to talk to Randy Jones, honestly.
Uh,
Like, yeah, gay history, please. Uh let's make this right, I say.
if you do, let me apologize to him. I will buy his merch.
Yes. So missing from action in this episode is Victor Willis, who was like the original person who Jacques Morale like teamed up with as like the lead vocalist of the Village People. He played like an admiral, a cop, basically like any type of like masculine authority figure was his character in the Village People. And he left the group for a couple of years starting in August 79. So like before, like right before, like a year before this. And he is the villain of the piece. He's also straight and was married to Felicia Rashad.
Yep. Married to Felicia Rashad. It was his
Wild.
first. He went through some like hard times, came out of it, got remarried. And then he decided that since he had written so many of the Village People's big hits, that he wasn't content just getting royalties. He wanted to perform them. And in 2017, he sued the band and said, you guys who've been performing these songs for 40 years or 30, 40 years, get the fuck out of here. I should be the only person that tours with the Village People because I wrote these songs. And the court said, okay, Victor, that makes sense. So guys like Philippe Rose,
Alex Briley, Glenn Hughes, David Hodo, Ray Simpson, Randy Jones.
Randy Jones had already left the group.
Right.
David Hodo had already left the group. Alex Briley, I think, was still there. Glenn Hughes, I believe, passed away.
He passed away
2001 of lung cancer.
From lung cancer, yes.
He was buried in his leathers.
He was buried in his leather outfit. Gotta love it.
So now, if you go see the Village People, and they do tour, they played Riot Fest just a couple years ago, you will see the cop, Victor Willis, singing very unenthusiastically with a bunch of lesser paid replacement Village People dressed in still in the costumes, You will see him singing those songs to people who are not the ones who made them famous.
Boo.
Ooh.
Worker rights for the village people. I will save all the rest of my village people stuff for when we get to their storyline because I feel like we should get to the episode.
Oh my
But you know,
God.
hey, people like long content. This is a special summer double-sized issue.
Do we want to like break here and just like do a follow-up? Make it a two-parter?
Jeez, I can. There actually isn't a lot of plot to cover because this show is
Yeah.
wild. The first thing we'll talk about is the horse lover, which is the Betty White, Allen Ludden storyline. And basically, the gist of this is that Allen Ludden plays a guy who owns a horse. They're on the cruise ship because they're going to Acapulco to run in the steeplechase. And Betty White's character is like, wait a second, what? I thought we were just going to be here together. The entire episode, Allen Ludden keeps ignoring Betty White to be with his horse.
And Betty White wants to
She wants to
freak.
fuck, yeah, like she wants to get busy. And Allen Ludden is just like always wearing like there's one scene where she's like in her nightgown, she's spraying perfume, she gets in the bed wearing platinum heels for some reason in the bed, which I'm like, that's dirty. And she's like ready, and then he comes out of the bathroom in the full cowboy gear because he's like, I gotta go down and feed my horse. You're just, it's, I don't know, it's 10 o'clock at night and you're just like, I gotta get my cowboy garb to go feed the horse.
This is like the horse race is the big moment in the it's the reason for being. It's the reason that everyone is on this boat. There's a guy played by David Doyle, Bosley from Charlie's Angels, who wants to buy the horse, Jessica the horse. Because
And
he's just this, slubby dude. He's like, I want to buy the horse.
he's also a horse aficionado. He wants to pay 100,000,
which is
110,000.
which is $366,000 in today's currency. I always check. I
Yeah,
always
you gotta.
um,
But David Doyle is tuned in to what Betty White. He's on the same frequency. And he's like, well, if I can't buy that horse, I'm gonna fuck Allen Ludden's wife. And he just baldly just is like, hey, do you want to go get coffee? Do you want to go dancing? Like, just
because she's like, I got nothing going on. They go dancing. They go get a drink. And then literally the next night, like before the race, she's like, what was it? He was like, so do you want to come to my stateroom at like 10:30 tonight? And she's like, yeah, I want to do that.
And I like that she's not under any, she's also like, I am here to fuck David Doyle.
Yes.
Allen Ludden is down there with Jessica. I am going to fuck Bosley in this, looking so adorable in that tuxedo. Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, so cute.
And what is it that she says she goes, why, she's talking about her husband and she's like, why doesn't he just have a girlfriend like a normal man?
Yeah.
she's like, E is for extramarital. Let's make that like.
There's also a moment where so like they go dancing and then like the next time we see her is her waking up and the camera's on her and it's good, it starts to pan out and I'm like, oh my God, it's David Doyle in the bed with her. And then no, it's the saddle. Yeah. She rolls over onto the saddle and it's very Godfather.
That had to be,
yeah, that had to be the reference.
And then like Allen Ludden's just like, oh, you went dancing, you had you had some drinks, well, you go have fun. I'm
glad you're having fun. What, so like this is very emblematic of like the kind of storytelling on the Love Boat where they're like, okay, the game of this is he's an oblivious husband and just wants to hang out with the horse all the time. And so they just hit that. Oh, like Betty White sits him down for ultimatums in every single scene. And he just doesn't get it.
No.
And
No.
that leads us to the Acapulco race, where we will pick up when we get to that. If we want to move on to Secretary to the Stars.
Secretary of the Stars is Loni Anderson and Charles Frank, the sex pest.
Yes.
We kind
And
of touched on it.
yeah, and so one of the wild things about this is when like the story starts with Sex Pest coming on board, approaching Julie, who's the cruise director, and then Captain Stubing's young daughter, and being like, "Hello, two women of the cast. I am here because I have the hots for the movie actress that I have somehow found out is going to be on this cruise, and I'm only here so that I can meet her and hopefully date her or more. Where is she?" And they're both like, "She's right over there." But actually, the daughter is like, "Are you sure you want to meet her? She just won the Sour Apple Award for being basically a huge bitch." Like,
Yeah,
it's so weird.
that's her reputation. He knows nothing about her. He doesn't know her real name. That's interesting.
Oh,
Like that comes
yes.
up later. Like she's been using a fake name, and he's just attracted to her, and he needs to be have a conversation with. He just wants to talk, which is really what murderers do all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
All the
I mean,
time.
how did he find out? I don't understand how in 1981 you find out, because like also like the publishing window, like I feel like it would be, unless it was like published in the newspaper.
Probably was because okay, so wait a second.
Oh, they would do that. Newspapers,
Yeah,
old-timey newspapers would definitely be like, this actor is going on a trip with this actor.
or what it was more along the lines of she was giving out the prize at the Acapulco
Yeah.
steeplechase. So they're probably like, oh, Lonnie Anderson is going to be traveling down with all the horses down to Acapulco for this event. So maybe this is still
But
like,
so like to then go to the lengths of like, cool, well, I'm definitely buying a ticket for that so I can talk to her.
did no murders happen before 1980? Like, it
Yeah.
is stalking. It is stalking.
So
Um,
he finds her room, and when he goes there, she answers. But now this is a big question. Were Did the show think that we couldn't recognize Loni Anderson in a brunette short wig and big glasses?
yes.
Because later when she takes it off, it's like a huge reveal.
This is the Clark Kent rules.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You put the glasses on, you put on a wig that has no discernible hairline, and you are suddenly a different person. You have fooled this person who thinks he's in love with you.
Yeah. Well, and also she's talking with an accent that is, I wrote that her accent is so wild. Like it's a weird Englishy Australian accent. It's like the
It, it's
breeze.
very artificial. It does not stick around all the time. It is not consistent.
No.
I thought for a minute, I thought she was trying on different accents every time that her character was on screen.
Which,
And then I
yeah.
realized it was the kind of like this fake, wispy Mary Poppins thing.
Yeah. And so they go to like the formal thing. So like the general note about Love Boat, why Love Boat is the perfect show for me is that every single fucking episode, they board, they get situated in rooms, and then you get scene at the pool, followed by formal dinner. Every episode. It's those two scenes back to back. It is Speedos to tuxedos, and these are my two modes. These are my two modes, and Love Boat indulges me, and it's perfect. I love seeing the swimsuits, and then I love seeing the formal wear. Absolutely great.
Well, yeah, we've gone to where are they? They're in the
Yeah, so when they go to the formal dinner, he explains that he's like, women used to make him panic. He tells the secretary, because Loni Anderson is posing as her secretary, and that's how she's like basically placating this stalker. And him saying that women used to make him nervous is wild, because he just did he got over his nerves.
I wrote at one point Charles still stalking
Yeah.
in my notes. Charles still stalking.
He's stalker gonna stalk. He goes to her room. He like sits down in her door frame because he's like refusing. He refuses to leave until he gets a date, and it's
Which
a
is
lot.
that's a sex pest.
Yeah.
that's what that is. That's what
Yeah.
that is.
Oh,
Sorry.
can we also talk about what Loni Anderson's hair looks like underneath that wig?
Well, it changes because when she takes the wig off, it is very plastered down, and then they cut away to Gavin MacLeod, and when they come back, it is very styled.
Well, it's like a weird like she's not wearing a wig cap, which I feel like when you have as much hair as Loni Anderson
Oh my
does, you
God,
gotta.
man.
But like, no, it's like she's wrapped her hair around her head like a wig cap. It's so she calls it her survival kit. And then this is when like Gavin MacLeod is like finding out about this whole act because as the ship's captain, he's the therapist to everyone.
Yeah. And he this is probably not the first time he's seen this, but he's kind of like, you have to make a decision, Loni Anderson. If you're gonna approach him as Kim or as Doris,
Doris.
the secretary. Charles, by the way, Sex Pest, has completely fallen in love after one dinner and dancing with Doris,
Yeah.
the secretary to the stars.
When the star so that when she like does that happen after that might happen after no. So then after like after Captain Steubing gives the advice to Lonnie Anderson, she decides like, okay, cool, I'm sending Doris away. And so when she's like up at the pool and she's posing and she looks amazing.
Oh yeah.
She's doing a photo shoot in this red like one piece with like a plunging neckline, hair, gorgeous. And Sex Pest walks up and he's like, "Where's Doris?" And she's like, "I sent her away." And then he basically is like, "You are the devil. I hate you. How dare you?"
By the
Like,
way, you're on a fucking boat. How did you send her away on a boat? The point of the
maybe
show is you're on a boat.
it's like maybe his anger is justified. He's like, "What did you do? Did you just put her in a lifeboat? We're in the middle of the Atlantic."
Did
Like
you call another boat
a
to pick her
helicopter?
up and
Yeah.
lead her away? You're on a boat.
I didn't even think of that for some reason. It's
I
like, yeah,
sent
she's
her
like,
away.
I sent her away. She's down peeling potatoes. Don't think about her.
She's in the
But
Love
he
Boat's
gets
brig.
so angry at her. He goes from like, I got this ticket to stalk this woman, and now I hate her. She
She
is
she
of the
has
devil.
angered me.
Like
And you know what this is? This is Dennis in It's Always Sunny in
always,
Philadelphia.
yeah, it's very that.
This is
It's
this is murderer Dennis.
yeah, that's it.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
God. And so that's where we get to the Acapulco steeplechase for them. The next storyline is Julie's decision with Robert Stack, who is the world's most eligible bachelor, and he's fresh on the boat after having an affair with a princess. Ooh. And then he's immediately hitting on Julie, the cruise director, who is hardcore half his age. He's
Yeah.
61.
Just going back to some of these things, Julie is played by Lauren Tews.
Mm-hmm.
She is currently a cheese specialist.
A cheesemonger? A cheesemongress?
She is a monger and also a cheese specialist. Um,
Work.
she worked at Knott's Berry Farm,
Oh.
and she left the show early because she had a cocaine problem, and then she fixed it, and then she came back.
Oh, great. Good for her.
Yeah, doing great.
In this, she also feels like she's about to get murdered by a man because,
Robert Stack, who will probably investigate that murder during Unsolved Mysteries.
yeah, he's like, where did Doris go? If you have any information, please call.
If
So
you have
like
any information about the Pacific Princess, call
he
this number.
immediately starts hitting on her. The rest of the cast, all the men are rightfully like keeping an eye on this
This dude
because
could be your dad.
yeah, because he's also a known like playboy philanderer, bachelor, never settling down. And so we get multiple scenes of Captain Steubing and Dr. Bernie Capel and and Isaac and Gopher all like worried.
Yeah. There are a lot of good scenes with this where he tries to win Julie over by doing just these these over the top gestures. So he's
Yeah.
like, if I said to you, remember something that reminds you of your childhood, what would that be? And she goes, oh, poached salmon and red sneakers, because I used to run around in my red sneakers and I'd come home and I eat poached salmon. So of course she goes to his room for dinner, and he lifts up the lid of the platter, and there's a pair of red sneakers that he painted with mercurochrome.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then and there's violin players that come out, and they have excuse me, they have salmon. So it's just these over the top, like, your wish is my command. He gives her this gigantic thing of roses. He gives
Mm-hmm.
her a necklace, and he
And
does
that's when
the
he
like,
proposes. He's like, I give this necklace to my wife.
yeah,
And then, but this is so this is a thing that I would love to watch all of Love Boat and see how many people meet and propose marriage during the course of this cruise, because this is just what happened on television all the time. Is
yeah.
people would propose marriage like immediately.
Well,
And
it
wild.
was there was the plague, the bubonic plague was happening, and everyone didn't know if God was going to assume you up to heaven. So you had to get married, and you had to have 3 kids so they could work the Lord's fields. And then
That's simple.
and then yeah, you have to marry real quick.
So basically, yeah, her whole plot line is, am I gonna marry Robert Stack or not? And he's also on the
He's a
he's
jockey.
he's also on the boat because he's a jockey. He is 5'11". I looked up everyone's heights. Once people started talking about getting on horses, I was like, how fucking tall is everybody? He is 5'11", and
I'm 5'11".
the average heights of jockeys are 4'10" to 5'6". So I am on the upper. I'm pushing the limit of what a jockey can be. I could be a jockey, but
Robert Stack cannot be a jockey. Although
5'11".
I believe that they were riding horses at one point, because they did do a close up, a medium shot, and it was Robert Stack on the horse, and it was Allen Ludden on a horse.
And then there's another shot. So right before we get to the Acapulco steeplechase, the guys confront Robert Stack. And I can't remember who said this. Maybe it was Gopher. He's like, couldn't you just adopt her?
I laughed out loud at that. I
That was
really like that line.
It's like, why do you have to marry her? Couldn't you just adopt her if you want to be with
Um,
her?
let's talk about like Fred Grandy real quick.
Oh,
Gopher.
we can move on to Gopher and Isaac buy a horse.
Oh, okay. Because we haven't really talked about Bernie Capel. Um,
Yeah, he's in this storyline. Yeah, so this is our prerequisite or requisite cruise storyline. Gopher and Isaac buy a horse, which is exactly what it is.
Gopher is just an ordinary ship hand played by Fred Grandy.
He's our
Uh,
yeoman purser.
formerly four-time Republican representative for the great state of Iowa. Uh,
Yeah, I don't like that.
Currently an AM talk show host.
I don't like that either.
But his son is SNL writer Charles Grandy, who also wrote multiple episodes of The Office, Velma, and Mindy Project.
Okay. Do we know what Gopher's when was Gopher an elected Republican?
It
The
was, I
90s?
want to say it was the 90s, because he couldn't
Okay.
do the reunion movies because he was campaigning.
Okay.
It was late 80s, early 90s.
Republican then is different from Republican of the last 10 years.
Which
So,
also, another weird Republican connection. He was David Eisenhower's roommate, which is uh Dwight Eisenhower's grandson. They were roommates in college at Harvard, and then he was the best man at David Eisenhower's wedding to Julie Nixon, the daughter of Richard Nixon.
the
So it's
actual
like,
fuck.
republicanism is
He
coming
just
for you.
but he's such a delightful performer.
He is really enjoyable.
Yeah, I really like him.
And he's still he is still friends with Bernie Capel.
Who's
He was
still
friends,
alive.
and
Can I
there were
just can I fucking talk about Bernie Capel for a second? Because
oh,
if
Bernie
you
Capel.
there was a period of time in the 60s where he was on Get Smart and That Girl and
Bewitched.
the Doris Day Show
Oh yeah.
all at the same time. Like Bernie Capel was just on everything as a recurring or regular character. Like,
He was
it's
multiple
crazy.
voices. He was multiple voices in Lancelot Link,
Ooh,
Secret Chimp.
Secret Chimp, baby. And then but then he gets playing the kind of like carousing doctor
Yeah.
on this show. Oh, and also if we're talking about the crew, we definitely need to talk about their shorts
We haven't talked about Ted Lang at all.
because their shorts are so short.
Well, yeah. It's the
It's,
era. They're out on the
I
deck. They
love it.
gotta have
I
short
love
shorts.
it. I love the
Ted
shorts.
Lang,
The cool
a
dude.
the cool dude. He is your bartender. He's very funny in this. He and Gopher have that old shtick. Like it really just feels like Bing Crosby, Bob Hope from like the old road.
Yeah.
Ted Lang.
They
I said
literally tap dance.
they do. They do. I will always say it that Ted Lang is has my respect because he's a Shakespeare authorship doubter like myself, and his biggest claim to fame no one remembers is that he is the first black actor to play Othello in a filmed version of Othello that was actually shown to anyone. Because
Oh
before
God.
it was like
It was
Orson Welles or Laurence Olivier.
yeah, good stuff.
And William Marshall, who was Blackula, was I believe the first black Othello on film, but they never released it. Whereas Ted Lang, I want to say in like around the same time that they were doing Love Boat, recorded it and it played it at a couple indie theaters. So he has the uh the authority to say he is the first black actor to play Othello in
That's
a
some range.
released movie. But this it was until wasn't until like the 80s.
Because in this episode, him and Gopher have bought a horse that they've snuck onto the boat and are trying to like make money by putting him in a steeplechase, which is about as far from Othello as you can get.
Which is the stupidest thing. They don't know anything about the horse. They can't train the horse. They don't know how fast the horse runs. They know nothing about horses.
They
They
don't know
don't
that they're like, we think it's sick. So they go get Bernie Capel and he's like, I'm a people doctor. Get it fresh air and exercise. So they start walking it around the deck. Now, I did like seeing that horse, which is a real fucking horse.
Oh yeah.
And seeing these actors, like it wasn't one of those like we're gonna swap out the trainer for like long shots. It's like no, this is Fred Grandy and Ted Lang like with a horse pushing it, pulling it, trying. It's really funny.
They were my favorite scenes. I had so much fun, like just so much fun watching them try to like cover for the fact that they snuck a horse on board and Gavin McLeod, they're trying to hide it from Captain Steuben.
They've
Well,
named it Captain Stubing.
they named it Captain Steuben. So there's that. It's just that's great, warms my heart of like these old goofy, Olsen and Johnson comedies.
There's a great thing where they like are trying to find the horse. The elevator door opens. They see the horse in the elevator, but it closes before they get there. So then they run as fast as they can to the next floor to get the horse out of the elevator. And like this is so good.
Or the part where they're welcoming everyone on the ship, and someone goes, "Oh, where's Isaac?" And you see him all the way in the back, leading the horse across
Oh yeah.
just like a doorway when they say that.
Or the big one is like at night and they're like trying to get the horse like off of the deck and they keep saying Captain Stubing, come on, but and then Captain Stubing himself hears them, comes out as they've just pushed the horse out. They're like, he's like, I just heard some clippy clopping, and then the two of them are like, oh no, that was us, we're tap dancers, and they just start like really hamming it up. And it's great. It's great.
So we know where they are.
And then I also want to point out they start arguing when they get to the steeplechase about who's going to be the jockey, and Fred Grandy is 5'8" and Ted Lang is 5'7". So,
but neither of them wanted to do it. It's not just like I get to be it. I get to be it. It was like no.
Yeah, they were like,
I want you to do it because I don't want to ride a horse.
Did they not want to do it because they didn't want to wear the silks, or was it because they were terrified of riding a horse? I couldn't.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be Because you got to admit, jockey outfits are ridiculous.
Yeah. But you get to see Robert Stack in one. You get to see Allen Ludden in one.
It's great. It's great. And now, do we want to talk about The Village People Ride Again, which is somehow a story that is credited with writers writing it?
Yeah, they were. I mean, if Isaac and Gopher were the comic relief, the Village People were chaos agents.
Oh, I
Whatever.
wrote down chaos energy.
That's all they do is they show up and
They
they
show
they
up
they walk on the boat singing an a cappella version of In the
in the
Navy.
Navy immediately, like just like boom, 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 boom. And then I love like as soon as they walk off, Captain Stuman's like, wow, seems like a regular bunch of fellows. And then I really, really, really wanted to see Gavin McLeod join in leather gear. That would be great.
I can imagine that.
I forgot to mention also when there's one scene where Gavin McLeod and Betty White interact, and it is a Murray Slaughter and Sue Ann Nivens from the Mary Tyler Moore Show reunion. And that is iconic because those two characters are gay canon. They read each other to filth every single time they were on. It's great. I have a t-shirt that has both of them on it that says the library is open. Please go to my TeePublic and buy that. Anyway, the one scene with the Village People is at the formal dinner right after like Robert Stack has, given Julie flowers and he's pulled her off. And then it's like, it's showtime, people. Because the Village People also own a horse. They've named that horse Magic Night, which is the name of the single from Can't Stop the Music that they then perform. And I wrote in my notes, oh my God, at this performance. I wrote, it's like this powder keg of gay going off in the middle of suburbia. How did this happen?
Well, everyone is just like very pleasantly dancing and appreciating the music, and Gavin McLeod's enjoying it, and Bernie Capel's enjoying it, and just like, oh, this music's quite good, yes. Meanwhile, like
it is,
there's a lot of no shirt.
It's just like our friend Philippe Rose, the Native American, is just tearing it up, wearing almost nothing. Like the tiniest glittery loincloth, and then everyone else is just, I wrote that they're doing it like calisthenics, like they're all just like jumping jacks basically. It's also, I wrote like it's like seeing a drag performer perform in a living room, because it's like it's too much in such a small space. And this is where I wanted to do my research on, did everyone know they were gay? So, because like you see this and you're like, how the hell did this happen in homophobic 1980? How did people really not know they were gay? So
Reagan got elected just very few days of the few that before this.
So, how gay were they is a section of my notes. In August 1977 is their very, very, very first album review by Wayne Robbins, who writes, a disco concept album by the prolific Jacques Morali, who wrote, produced, and arranged this. One side represents the West Coast, San Francisco, You've Got Me, and the other, the East Coast, with Fire Island and Village People. The power thud rhythms don't change, however, and the content is typically banal for danceaholics only. So, like, they kind of, like, Fire Island, like, we know.
San Francisco, Fire Island.
But then the Oakland Tribune, June 26, 1978. This is that interview I was talking about where they all are like very, very smart. The author writes, the band came out of the gay clubs, as did disco originally, but not all members are gay, and they have a message they want to spread to everyone. We deliver a message through the music, Briley said, but we want it to come while we in the audience have fun. Then Hughes added, the cause is people liberation, like the lyrics say in San Francisco. Dress the way you please and put your mind at ease. We want everybody to do their own thing and not be afraid of doing it. That approach came out of the 60s, but it somehow got heavy, like a lot of people didn't know what their thing was and got put out by it. But times have changed. They sure have. What about Anita Bryant's crusade? Hughes replies to that, hey, we played in her town and the audience loved us. We don't want to put anyone down, including Anita Bryant. We say do your own thing. Just don't stop us from doing ours.
You can't stop the music.
And so, like, just the fact that this newspaper said, but not all members are gay. The implication being, but obviously some of them are.
Yeah.
That is wild. And then in June 78, the Seattle Gay News reported on how Gloria Gaynor had to back out of a benefit concert. So the village people were stepping in and it was going to benefit some area gay organizations. Um, and then in July 78, the Boston Globe, one of their columnists, Diane White, said in a column titled Disco Gets the Boot,
Oh,
she wrote, the high point of the evening was either I Wanna Be a Macho Man, lip synced by a homosexual singing group, Village People, and then this amazing, definitely homo named James Bianco Jr. wrote in and it's like, I'm writing to complain about Diane White's July comedy. What kind of column? What kind of critic is she? It is plain to see that she wrote the above mentioned article without knowing what she was talking about. First of all, the song is Macho Man, period. They do not say I wanna at any point in the song. It's I've got to be a macho man. Second of all, a homosexual group? Why even bother to mention that they are gay? I'm quite sure that their sexual preferences are not going to change the way they perform, nor the way most people feel about them and their music. Wrote, and that was published in the Boston Globe in 1978.
okay.
So everyone knew the Village People were gay. I always operated under the assumption that everyone was just kind of stupid and like just didn't like how my mom didn't know Fred Schneider was gay from the B-52s.
Wait, well, no, yeah.
Of course. Yeah. But
No,
like that's wild.
I was always, when I grew up, it was the common knowledge was, yes, they're gay except for the cop.
Hmm.
And that's the way I was. I mean, that's playground wisdom, so take that with like a giant grain of salt. But I mean, as far as I know, that is accurate. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
but it is wild that like it was. I honestly thought like it would probably be like an open secret kind of thing, but like no, man, like they were very, very gay. So this was gay, 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 gay. And even the straight ones furthering the gay agenda. Acapulco race,
Here
baby.
we are. Oh, Acapulco.
There's a really great joke with the Village People where they're trying to get our Native American friend on the horse, and they're like, I thought you were supposed to ride bareback, and he says, I'm not taking my clothes off.
Yeah, we all knew.
Yeah,
They
man.
all knew. No one
uh
cared.
Basically we see a really, it's actually kind of a long race with a
Yeah, this
lot
goes
of
like a while for they focus on. Well, it's the climax of the whole thing.
mhm.
You've got an hour and a half episode as part of this 3 hour block, and you go to maybe not Acapulco, but you're going to a location. You are off the boat. You are no
Mhm.
longer using those sets. You're using outdoor sets. And as the race is going, I don't know if you caught this because it was a blinker or you miss it. They cut in race footage that was colorized from
Yeah.
like the 1930s. Because if you
Okay,
look at
that's
the
why
crowd,
it looked wild.
because everyone's hat was like very styled of like 1930s. The film quality was like 1930s, 19 like it looked like it looked like a newsreel, and it had obviously been colorized. Not the same colors as
No.
uh Allen Ludden and Robert Stack and everybody. So I thought that was kind of like a funny thing, being like, oh, they went back in time.
Yeah. Which I mean, Love Boat definitely would. If the Magic School Bus could do it, Love Boat could do it.
Time
Uh
Love Boat. Yeah.
yeah, and so like the Village People's horse, like he falls off, and also Fred Grandy falls off, and then that does not disqualify them from the horse race. Just
Nope.
now they're racing on foot. Uh,
Robert Stack and Alan Ludden neck and neck, kind of predictable. They're the two that we know are the racers.
yeah. And Allen
Uh,
Ludden wins.
there's a lot of slapstick. Just the two of them like jumping over the hedges together.
Yeah.
Rose and Fred Grandy. It really gets that feeling. It's like horse feathers with the Marx
Mm.
Brothers. It's like you have all the build up to the race and you have all the drama, and then you get to the race and it's like the Marx Brothers do chaos and it's great. And
Yeah, and it's like David Doyle's really putting the moves on Betty White, and Loni Anderson is there. Wait, is there a shot of Sex Pest like from behind the bushes just glaring at her?
Yep. Yep. Sex Pest is there glaring at her from the bush. Like
Jesus Christ.
he's
Um,
it is a trap, Loni Anderson. It is a
Run. Just you're in Acapulco, get out. So yeah, Allen Ludden wins, but he's like oh
he's
no.
like Allen Ludden wins, and he's like, I just want to talk about Jessica, my horse. I am so happy that I won. And meanwhile, David Doyle's like, hey, you want to come over to my room? He says it's to Betty White. He doesn't say this to Allen Ludden.
Oh,
Hey, Betty
man.
White, you want to come over to my room at 10:30? The assumption is we this is happening.
Yeah.
He has dropped the ball one too many times. David Doyle's come to pick it up.
Ooh, baby. And so yeah, let's finish off all this. So like how does the Allen Ludden Betty White storyline conclude? When she goes to meet up with him, he is
Um,
actually uh she's told to then go to the stable, right?
yeah,
And she goes there and she thinks she no, she thinks she's gonna find her husband there, but no, David Doyle is there.
because Allen Ludden sold the horse. He sold his prize horse Jessica so he realized the error of his ways, which I assume happens in Love Boat all the time.
Yes.
He realizes the error of his ways. He realizes he is being a terrible husband, and um, he sells the horse to David Doyle, who's happier with the horse than he was having
I know.
a horse
Like
with Betty White.
this horse just keeps stealing all of her men. This fucking horse. God. Yeah, and so they're happy. And then their like end little coda thing is like as they're leaving the boat, he's like, oh, we're going to London next. And David Doyle's like, there's a steeplechase in London. And Betty White's like, oh, what? He's like, actually, let's go to Niagara Falls. Oh,
So
yay.
David Doyle cock blocked again.
Jeez.
Gompa,
Uh
gompa.
And then the Gopher and Isaac storyline ends with like Captain Stubing is actually just mad that the horse named after him came in last. And he's like, we should get our own horse.
Yeah, let's get a boat horse. They sell
Yeah.
the horse for $200 more than they paid for it, which ends up being the difference that they have to pay to fix the storeroom that the horse broke into and ate all the carrots and everything. So
Yeah. So good
they
for them.
they break even, I guess. They're goofy. Haha.
So the Robert Stack and Julie storyline it has so all the guys are like, hey Julie, like, do not do this. Don't do this. And so she goes into like walks in on Robert Stack making out with a hot woman that we previously saw him talking to like halfway through the episode.
Can I pull out real quick who this person
Oh
was?
yes.
This person, well, she's going to say yes, by the way. She
Oh
really wants to say yes.
yes. Julie
She's
wants to marry Robert Stack.
yeah, because he's got money. He's got, you know, he even says like, I don't have a lot of years left. He says this to
Mm.
like Gavin
Oh
Clapperton.
yeah.
Like, I
He's
don't have a
like
lot of years left. I just want to have a like settle down, have a good, have a good marriage. And they're like, do you want to have kids? And he's like, whatever. But
it's so
so
strange.
he's making out with Bobby Breezy, who's the star of Ghoulies and Surf Nazis Must Die.
Oh wow.
Yeah, everybody got, more credits to their name. Um, but
So
it was a setup.
yeah, like after she leaves, she's like, "How dare you?" This is he's like, "Yeah, this is I can't help it. Some people are addicted to drinking, and this is me." And then after she leaves, like it turns out that he's like, "I changed my mind about marrying her, so I staged." Making out with this woman so she would catch us and then break up with me because I knew she would never say no and she would never break up with me.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
And then afterwards, they're fine. Like when he's leaving, they have like a nice little chuckle and like
9 years later, he hosts Unsolved Mysteries.
and he's like, well, maybe he died and that was his ghost hosting Unsolved
Oh,
Mysteries.
that'd be
That would
so
make more sense.
cool. I
Uh,
solved mystery. Call this
then
number.
oh, and then we have the way that storyline is she comes out to him as both Doris and Kim.
Yeah, I wrote sex pest is sad because he doesn't have Doris. He's just so mad at Kim.
And then when she tells him I was actually the woman that you had fallen in love with, he's mad about that.
Yeah. So he
He's
goes,
also
Who are you real? Are you Kim? Are you Doris?" And she goes, "How about June Westheimer, a
yeah.
girl from Milwaukee, which is her real name." It's just so fucked up.
And then he's like, well, you know what? The four of us might make a really good couple.
Yeah.
And
The
so,
four
like,
of us will be really happy together. Like
sure.
that
Uh,
red flag is longer than the Pacific Princess. That he is
yeah,
just
yeah.
is everything is wrong with Sex Pest.
And then the village people close out the storyline by leaving, and they had a great cruise, and they see Captain Stubig, and they take off his hat, put the headdress on him, and then Philippe Rosa, is that his name? I keep forgetting
Philippe
his name.
Rose.
Philippe Rose says, it puts the captain's hat on, and he says, I've always wanted a kinky lid like this. And then they leave.
And then
Then
they
they
end
ask,
they ask, "Where's the next cruise?" And then Gopher says, "You want to say it?"
the Indian Ocean? LOL. Ready for some must-have facts?
Yeah.
Jesus fucking
Thank
Christ.
thank you everyone for sticking with us for this one.
Hey,
This
summer special. I hope you're listening to this by the pool on your own or on your own cruise.
listen to this while you're driving to wherever you have to go for July 4th.
Yeah, and your pride, your pride adventures. 19.5 million people watched this on television, which is half as many people watched Who Shot JR the night before. But this episode was still number 10 for the week. The top 5 shows of the week were Alice, 4, Three's Company, number 3 was 60 Minutes, 2 was Dukes of Hazzard, and the number 1 show, of course, was Dallas, with
Dallas.
41.5 million homes.
Yeah, double the number of people who watched Love Boat.
Yeah. And then the ABC Saturday Night lineup was 30 minutes of Fantasy Island, 90 minutes of Love Boat, and then 60 more minutes of Fantasy Island. And I want to know, where does Loni Anderson's story go after this?
Because she's ditched the sex pest. Maybe he did something stupid. Maybe he got so upset that he jumped off the boat or something.
He definitely did something stupid. Maybe he joined the village people.
Maybe he got arrested.
Maybe the cop was like, "Hey, I'm actually an undercover cop, and you are arrested."
You're arrested for so many things. That would be a happy ending.
What are you watching tonight? On ABC is The Love Boat. A famous movie star tries to escape from the problems of success brought. Love Boat special Acapulco Cruise 90 minutes. On CBS is the film Same Time Next Year, 1978. Alan Alda, Ellen Burstyn. A chance encounter between two married people turns into a once-a-year love affair that spans 3 decades. 3 stars. Network advises parental discretion. And on NBC, The Car, 1977. James Brolin, Ronnie Cox. A driverless car terrorizes a small Utah town. 2 stars.
I would watch The Car, but I should be watching Love Boat.
Yeah.
I'd be watching The Car, but I should be watching Love Boat.
I'm watching Love Boat, probably.
I'm watching The Car.
Because at that point, I'm a member of the David Doyle fan club, and I've gotten the newsletter that's about all his TV appearances, and I'm like, oh, David, and I'm watching that.
Or we could have gone to see Can't Stop the Music and been like, man, we need more coverage of those village people. Oh, they're gonna be on Love Boat.
So, as I mentioned earlier, Can't Stop the Music did hit HBO around this time in January 81, like 2 months later. And Peter Travers of Rolling Stone, like Peter fucking Travers, I did not know he was this old, honestly. He wrote in a newspaper in his column, worst of the day, HBO Can't Stop the Music 1980, 8 a.m. God, what a horrible time to watch that. And he writes, a horrible, misconceived gay propaganda musical that features the talentless village people and low-level direction from Nancy Walker, who should have known better.
What else did Nancy Walker direct that she should know better?
Well, she's like a Tony winning Broadway actress and was Rhoda's mom on Rhoda and
Yeah.
Mary Tyler Moore.
And she did all those like, didn't she do all those commercials where she did like hand soap?
Yes. And now if we're saying talentless village people, might I remind everyone that the village people have 9 top 40 dance singles, 3 top 40 chart singles, 2 gold singles, 1 platinum single, 4 top 40 albums, 2 gold albums, 3 platinum albums, and they've won 2 American Music Awards. So
I don't know. Sounds like talent to me, Brett.
sounds like talent. Thank you. Next up, this episode got a 7.2, 81 people, which somehow is fewer people than rated the Magician episode. Like,
Oh,
why aren't more people rating Love Boat episodes?
I'm
Got a
gonna look
7.2.
I'm gonna look real quick for my Can't Stop the Music book.
Oh my God, what? Like,
Oh,
is it like
got
the
it.
novelization?
It is the novelization of Can't Stop the Music. Don't look at my butt. Oh. All
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
right. I should have grabbed this before, but I do have the from the producer of Grease, Alan Carr, Can't Stop the Music, over 150 super action photos from the hit movie musical, plus a full color souvenir photo album written by Bronte Woodard and Alan Carr.
Oh
It
my
is
God.
photographs from the movie with
Mostly.
um comic book captions, Fumetti style.
They're like, what's the quickest thing we can do?
It's great.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
David Hodo dancing a little bit. Yeah, so all of your favorite village people get like full color pictures. Um, Steve Guttenberg does as well, because Steve Guttenberg was in Can't Stop the Music.
Yes.
Honestly, best $3.50 I ever spent. Can't get enough of this book. You can't stop the music. You just can't. Um, so
Uh,
if you have not seen Can't Stop the Music, it is a curiosity from a bygone time.
oh, I need to see it, obviously. Maybe that'll
You know,
be a Pride. Maybe that'll be a Pride Month special for me.
did you we watched it at one point.
I don't think I was at that one.
I
I
don't
don't
think you were at
think.
that one.
Um uh 7.2 out of 10. Would you go higher or lower?
Oh, I'd go higher. Oh, I love this.
Okay.
I had a great time with this. I'd go 8.2 easy.
Okay.
8.3.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Honestly, this isn't as good as Love Boat gets, but this is definitely good, I
This
would
is,
say.
I mean, this is the Cavalcade of Stars, an hour and a half. Look, this is longer than Toy Story. This is longer than Lion King. This is a
And
long.
honestly, should have changed culture as much as those movies. Who had the must-see performance?
I would, I thought about this, and the easy answer is the Village People, but the actual answer is Ted Lang as Isaac,
Okay.
your bartender.
And I'll go Fred Grandy. Let's give it. They're great. They're a great
We'll split,
couple.
split it down the middle. They are fantastic together. They are a great duo. They are the reason I might watch another one of these episodes.
Oh, the Pluto TV, just put it on the Love Boat channel. I have it favorited, and it's like when you just need something on, you put it on, and it is just like you never know who you're going to see, but you know you're going to see them in fantastic swimsuits and fantastic formal wear.
And you're going to be getting a laugh track that laughs at virtually anything.
Everything. And you're going to see Gavin MacLeod in the shortest shorts that you've ever seen on a human being.
And later
And
on,
it's
you
great.
get Ted McGinley from Married with Children and Revenge of the Nerds and Shrinking and Happy Days. He's the photographer. Love him. He's in
Great.
great at everything.
And lastly, must other people see this episode of television?
Carve out 90 minutes of your day. Actually, it's, without commercials, it boils down to like an hour 14.
Yeah.
But find the time, do yourself the favor, celebrate Pride with the Village People.
It is I highly recommend the Love Boat just in general. I can't recommend that Pluto TV channel enough. It's just great filler to just have on. It's beautiful. Oh my God. So, Ethan, where can people find you if they want to talk about The Village People or Love Boat or Can't Stop the Music?
Check me out on EthanK55 at Instagram. How about you, Brett? Where can people find you?
Y'all can find me on Instagram at Brett White. You can follow my drag exploits at Barb Hardly on Instagram and YouTube, where I will also be opening an entire box of home improvement trading cards. And if you actually do want any of these doubles, send me your address somehow or just contact me and we'll figure this out. But these should go to homes that aren't mine. And please write and leave reviews on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, etc., wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you to Acast for hosting this nonsense. And I don't know, is that everything? Ain't that enough?
Next time we're doing ER.
Oh, bitch,
yes.
Watch out. Oh man. And when I tell you, this is also a Pride Month episode because of one very specific shot, and we will discuss it. I cannot wait. It is ER Motherhood. I think it's towards the end of season 1. It's the Quentin Tarantino episode. Go back and listen to the Upfronts episode if you want more information about it. And that is everything.
And we'll see you next time, folks.
Must have seen TV. Oh my God.